I had John Anik on, and he was talking all about like the peace comes from the preparation. Like when you prepare, you
Yes.
control the things that are in there. But I think what separates you from maybe a guy like a John Anik, they're preparing because they're very analytical, very logistical. If this happens, this happens. If this happens, this happens. And I feel
Yeah.
like although jujitsu is a martial art, people that don't have an artistic background, they don't understand where they go, well, they told me if I do this, I'll get the arm bar. It's like, yeah, but there's 100 variations to what that other guy, there is no this is going to work every time because there's too many human variables. And I always
Yes.
wonder, you coming over as an artist, even though
Yes.
you prepare, I feel like artists are a little bit more fluid that, like I did my best, but I'm not rigid. I can move with what's thrown my way. How
Yeah.
much of that artistic background has helped you in the way you do your jujitsu and being able to kind of go with the flow and adapt to the situation?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it has absolutely been one of the best things for me, because I'm creative, right? There's a million ways to get to the end, right? And it's always ever changing. So, and music is too, right? Music is about a tempo and a pace, just like jujitsu. And I think that having that creativity and ability to adjust, because things go wrong. Like things go wrong in music. Like they can go wrong. Like someone can skip a beat. I could skip a beat, but how do I find how to get back on? That relationship is super important. But I think creatively, and having the ability to learn, really translates into jujitsu. My buddy, Lance got his black belt with me. I think it's been 3 years. Yeah, 3 years ago as of the other day. So he's also a musician and he's an incredible musician, but his ability to adapt. We're not the most physical guys in the gym, by all means. We're not the biggest guys. We both weigh about the same, between 160 to 170 pounds, depending on what our diets are looking like. But yeah, the ability to adapt in musical situations and find different paths to get to where you want to go, I think has been super helpful. And having that creative nature allows other things in, right? Not just, okay, it's this way or that's the end, like this is the only way you can get into an arm lock, or this is the only way you can get into this, but having the ability to have the framework and tools, right? Like in playing drums or playing piano or whatever, understanding your scales and understanding your rudiments and how to have speed and power and all of that sort of stuff translates into training jujitsu too. Knowing when to push and pull, all of that sort of stuff really translates. I believe anyway, and it's worked wonders. Having that dedication to an instrument has translated over. Like I'm just absolutely obsessed with practicing sometimes. And I'll just be in my studio and for hours and hours and hours and hours trying to learn something new, and I get stuck, and I'm just like the challenge. And how do I unwind this? How do I do this in jujitsu when I just don't understand something? Like, what do I do? How do I look at that problem and solve that issue that I'm having there? Like, how do I readjust? And they both work together like that. So if I'm having trouble in training with something, like how would I do this with drums, right? Well, I would slow it down and I would I would put a metronome on and I would try to unwind each limb. Okay, so where does my left arm need to go? And where does my right arm need to go? Versus like, what is my left hand doing, on this side, and what is my right hand doing, and try to like bring those together. And I think that's really helped with being technically good on the mats and just having an understanding. Teaching has also been a game changer because, you see somebody that comes on the mat for the first time and, they're a big, scary football player. And, you're 160 pounds and they're like, hey, you want to train? And I'm like, oh, not really. But then you realize like, wow, they feel like a baby just because I'm technically like I understand the body better. But I think both, music, playing drums particularly because I'm using all four limbs and talking and doing all that sort of stuff, and jujitsu really they're very similar. And I'm surprised I don't see more musicians. I know we're seeing more musicians do it now, but you'll see the musicians that are, more technical in their playing, you'll see them be more technical in their jujitsu. It'll be less like rigid sort of explosive movements, versus a guy that's just like 1,000 miles an hour, just like cramping on their drumsticks or their guitar. So they're only able to go so far. So I think those things translate pretty well.